I'm the only person in there from 10:30 p.m. to around 4 a.m. I have to clean and stock and mind the handful of customers that come in. There's long stretches of quiet. Anytime I go to clean the bathrooms, though, I hear someone come into the store, rummaging the cooler doors, opening, closing, etc. Unmistakable sounds of a person. Not like, oh, that's the soda station ice maker or that's a truck hiss in the parking lot. It's people sounds. I come out of the bathroom and the store is empty. So I go back in, clean a sink, hear more people sounds, go out, store is still empty. I would be stocking shelves and suddenly turn to greet a customer that I see walking the aisle from my peripheral. Well, as soon as I'm looking straight at the person is no longer there. It's a tall dude, every time. We got a new girl for the shift right before mine, and she starts chatting about how our boss told her the store is haunted. Well, I flipped my effing lid. Nobody warned me. I thought I was delirious from lack of sleep or something, even though I sleep plenty, or just going nuts from the solitude or losing my mind. Nope. Apparently, everyone else experiences all of this stuff too, and nobody thought to tell me. In 1975, the place was robbed. 3 guys were shot, and a fourth was shot, and he passed. I found the news story, the guy's family members, the court records on the murder, everything. The trigger man is still in prison. It was a death penalty case. 2 accomplices, one was never imprisoned, and the other served his sentence and is back out. I had freshly turned 18 and was working a closing shift at a small cafe and a grocery store. One of my regular customers comes in, Tom. Tom was a hugger, and he'd come in and call out, "Where's my girls?" And we'd all have to awkwardly hug this 80-year-old man while he whispered, "God bless you," in your ear. I hated Tom. He always held on a little too long and whispered a little too close. On this shift, I was closing alone, and Tom came in at about 4 p.m. Not unusual, I dealt with the creepy and got him his coffee and bagel. He was with his wife this time. She was sweet, but tired looking. He started asking me questions as I worked. What do you have to do at night? Is it hard closing alone? What time am I off? Do I ever get scared walking to my car in the dark? The questions got progressively more uncomfortable, and his wife just sat there silently. I answered as friendly as I could, despite the hair on the back of my neck standing straight up. I would catch him staring at me often. It was okay, though I was off work at 7, so it wasn't a big deal. Until he didn't leave. His wife went home without him, and he just stayed, staring, for hours. I asked if there was anything else he needed. He said no. I'm just waiting for you to get off of work. He wanted to walk me to my car, he said, because young girls shouldn't be in a dark parking lot alone. I told him it wasn't necessary and continued about my work, ignoring him now even as he stared. He left about 15 minutes before my shift ended, into the dark Michigan winter, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't think twice when I punched out and headed to my car. I grabbed my snow brush and began clearing my car, enjoying the quiet that's unique to a snowy night. I began to hear the crunching of footsteps behind me. I brush it off. I'm in a parking lot, after all. But they get closer, past any other car and directly towards my car, parked away from the others in employee parking. I look and it's Tom, maybe 50 feet away and smiling. He tells me that I should have looked for him. He had been sitting outside waiting for me, and I should know it's dangerous for young girls to be alone in a parking lot at night. I began shaking. I tried to open my car door, but it was frozen shut due to the earlier storm. Tom came closer, calling me a stupid girl, and asked God to forgive him. I debated running back into the store. He was so old, he surely couldn't keep up, right? Well, I didn't want to chance it, though. He could have been younger, as I'm a terrible judge of age, and I'm not exactly fast myself considering my weight. So I stand my ground. I fumble in my purse for my pepper spray, thankfully attached to my keys. I tell him to stay back, I have pepper spray, and to go home to his wife. I show him the teal canister. We're about 15 feet apart now. He's well within range. He calls me the B word, spits at me, and heads back into the store. I get in my half-uncovered car and drive home terrified. I called the store when I got home, only a mile and a half away, so about 2 minutes, and told them what had happened. They kicked Tom out and told him not to come back. He began cursing up a storm, and his wife had to come pick him up. He ended up getting arrested for looking at videos of children a couple years later, but I don't know the details as I had moved away at that point. Can't say. I'm sad to see him go, though. So this happened on my graveyard shift where I was helping another short-staffed store across town. I had a woman come in. She seemed a little frazzled and is carrying a Bible, but otherwise she seems fine. She buys some chips, then starts talking to me about how crazy this coronavirus stuff is. Then she tells me she ate an evil spirit pending to be a clove of garlic. I, of course, think she's just messing with me, but no. She pulls out a piece of garlic, lays it on the counter, and starts telling me it isn't garlic, and is in fact an evil spirit that wanted to possess her. She then starts asking me about if I believe in spirits or if I can see it, because despite looking like I'm one of the humans that's a third evil spirit, I'm really a human who's a third angel who was sent to Earth to help her expel the evil spirit and the urges she feels, and that it's okay if I didn't know it because she can see it. And she leaves the garlic on the counter and tells me that she'll wait for me to deal with it. Now, that's pretty much where the original incident ended. A few days later, at about 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm working the grave shift at my usual store when this woman pops up again. She proceeds to just buy some candy and sort of hangs out asking me about jade, the jewelry type, and incenses, and if we've met before. Nothing as weird as before. Now the weird thing is, I didn't hear or see her come in before she approached the counter. We have a loud siren thing that turns on when the doors are opened and only shuts off when they're closed, which is normally not a big deal, but considering I'd been stocking and cleaning in the front the whole time, I had only gotten 2 or 3 customers beforehand. Yeah, it was a bit weird. She hangs out a bit longer, then rushes to the restroom and doesn't walk out of it until 6 o'clock. She says, "Have a nice day," and just walks out of the store like nothing. This freaks me out because I cleaned the restrooms a little bit after she went in, and she somehow had managed to slip out or hide somewhere when I went to clean them. Outside of hiding in the stalls, there is nowhere to hide in the restrooms, and there's no windows to slip out of. I looked up at the top of the stalls and at the ceiling thinking she had pulled a Spider-Man, but nope. She was poof, disappeared, then reappeared, and left super casual a couple hours later. I used to work at a coffee place. We opened at 5 in the morning, but we were there at 4:30 to set up. We closed at 8 p.m. and left by 8:30 or 9, depending on when we finished cleaning up. One night a week was a deep clean session, so we'd leave closer to 9:30 or 10. I did my fair share of both opening and closing in my almost 4 years there, and definitely saw some pretty interesting folks in all that time, especially when opening. There were lots of homeless people who were sadly mentally disabled or drug addicted. We were in a part of town that was not as nice as it used to be. One morning when I was opening, myself and my opening barista, I was the supervisor at the time, were the only ones in the store. I was in the back of the store setting up some tills. She was in the front brewing coffee and tea and so on. Suddenly she started screaming bloody murder. I grabbed a box cutter and ran to the front. She had been cleaning a drain on the ground by the sink right next to the drive-through window. She had been bent down, but when she stood up again, there was a man with his face pressed to the window, literally inches away from her, just through the glass. He was just staring at her with this huge, super terrifying grin on his face, just up against the glass. He was super dirty and messy, and for some reason had a pink blanket wrapped around his shoulders. As my barista was screaming and crying, mostly shocked from how quickly he'd randomly appeared and how close he was to her, he started cackling like it was funny. I didn't really know why, but that really ticked me off. I didn't want to open the window, obviously, so I just told my barista to go into the back of the store and made eye contact with the guy through the window, scowled as hard as I could, and pointed down the street and yelled, "F off now." He looked totally taken aback at first, but then kind of stumbled away down the street. He lingered on the block for a long time, but eventually left for good. I kept an eye on him for a while and then went and calmed down my barista. Another time I was opening with a different barista. For reference, I'm an average-sized female, early 20s. This barista I was opening with is a late 30s male. When we opened the store, we'd wait in the parking lot for the other person to get there, one barista, one supervisor, and then walk into the store together. I arrived before him. When he got there, he parked a few spaces away from me. His car is black and small, so it could be hard to notice in the dark and from a ways away. When I realized he was there, I got out of my car to meet him. He left his car too and was walking towards me when he suddenly started yelling, "Get away from her," and running at me super fast. I heard footsteps run away from behind me and was super shocked. Apparently someone had been hiding behind my car, waiting for me to get out. They hadn't noticed my coworker show up and was scared off by him, thank God, because I didn't ever notice anyone was there. A few weeks later, though, when I was closing with a different barista, it happened again. My barista's partner was picking her up from work that night and was waiting in the parking lot since she got there a little early. Luckily, my barista's partner was also a cop. She noticed someone was crouched hiding behind my car and called her partner to tell her to tell me what was going on, then went to investigate and shoo the guy away. As soon as he saw her, he ran away again. My barista and her partner both walked me to my car just to be safe. So yeah, 2 attempted kidnappings within 2 weeks was pretty creepy. All for $15 an hour. Go figure. I was a security guard when I was about 20 years old. I patrolled several buildings in a rundown area with slow businesses. One of the buildings was a medical treatment center, daycare-like place for seniors. I always hated walking the halls there after hours. One night I was walking and heard a piano playing, and I thought someone was playing the piano in a large communal room. I walked there and saw there was no one at the piano, and I got very spooked. As I got closer to the piano, I saw someone had left a classical radio station playing on a boombox behind the piano. I laughed it off, but something still felt very odd. I went up to the second floor to check and make sure all of the medical rooms were locked up. After checking about 4 doors, I reached out to grab the final door's handle. I pushed the handle down, and it moved more than it should have. It was clear it wasn't locked. I decided to open the door and see if I could set the lock from the inside. The moment I pushed the door to open it, something from the other side pushed back hard. My first instinct was to push harder. I don't know why, but that's what my head told me to do. The door opened a bit more, and then another use of force from the other side came and nearly closed the door fully. I stopped pushing the door and realized $8 an hour wasn't worth whatever was on the other side of the door. I slowly let go of the handle, backed away, and walked out of the building. I locked all exits so whatever was in the building couldn't get out without keys. No clue to this day who was there and why.